Nothing. Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? We're back. We're back at it, you guys. Superman and Lois. This is our first attempt at giving you guys a back-to-back spoiler review for episode 3, which was
Perks of not being a wallflower and Haywire, which is episode 4.
Yeah, we didn't even practice that one. We're doing great. No sleeping off. South by Southwest and everything else. Anyway, what did we think? What did you think about episode 3, real quick?
Okay, so the Perks of the Wallflower episodes, which we get set up with Jordan, realized basically uses superpowers to be a football player as a way to fit in and a way to get back at the people who's been bullying him in the first couple episodes of this series. We also get the setup of one of the main purposes, I want to say, of Morgan Edge. We get a glimpse of it in episode 3, and we get to see Superman have a superhuman fight. All in all, I absolutely loved episode 3. Just because the conflict with the kids is set up, and it's something that I thought would always happen, which would be, when are we going to get to the point where Jonathan gets jealous of Jordan? And how are you going to play that angle properly? And to bring it into a realm of Jordan coming into Jonathan's world and taking over by using one thing I did question, and I asked Sam about it. And again, we are a week late on episode 3 review. For if you've been paying attention to the channel, you've seen a multitude of other things that we've dropped, so you should know why. But I had questions about Jordan's power level, because while it is talked about in episode 2 that he is not nearly as strong as Superman, on this episode it brings to power that he has maybe not superhuman strength, but definitely stronger than he should be with his size. So it kind of made me wonder, what is his actual power level here? And I think I love the way they play a game with his power level by not necessarily telling us, but we clearly see that he's much stronger than he should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's just the interesting thing about Superman and Jordan, and I hope they tap into it. Jordan doesn't do any athletics at all. Like, he doesn't train, he doesn't, work out his actual muscles. Like, his body makeup is just naturally that of Captain America. Like he's got like a bit of that. But imagine if he honed that. Imagine if he actually worked out his muscles and got actual stronger just from actually working at it. Because Superman's just naturally strong, but he also does work at it through the things that he does from an action standpoint. But imagine that later on down the line that Jordan may evolve into something on the level of like Superboy or Connor Kent. And I think you had brought it up, Lucas. I don't know if we had an open conversation that maybe a situation where Jordan may become something like a Connor. And later on, Jonathan will become Superboy. At this point now, they're doing something very specific with Jonathan with Jordan and Jonathan that I actually really technically like, because Jonathan still, at his core, at his heart, like, he wants to help people, like he wants to protect. Like, it's almost like an instinct, and it doesn't have anything to do with powers. It's just a part of his heart. And even though he was jealous, he still tried to be there for his brother, which I personally really like. I think I heard a lot of people kind of like, oh, well, they're doing too much. Oh, like Jordan, so why not? I'm like, bro, I actually really like it. It's actually really believable at the same time.
I mean, what would people expect if you have a twin and your twin has powers and you don't? Like, I know it's far-fetched, but you still got to put some realism to it. And I think they do a great job at doing it, because these are teenagers.
Yep.
These are teenagers who've always been close. And now their world is turned upside down when you find out your father is the world's most powerful, important person. And then it gets even worse when you find out one of you may have powers like him and the other doesn't.
Yeah.
Like I never understood when I read people say, well, they don't have to play the jealousy angle. That's immediately what do you
Naturally,
think
it's
is
a
gonna
given.
happen?
Yeah.
Siblings naturally are jealous and at times don't like each other.
Yeah.
Now add in one of them having powers and the other one don't. What do you think is gonna happen?
Yeah. But it's so weird because there's such, even though they have these teen angst at their core, they're good kids.
Yes.
And I think that is the most surprising thing, that they cast these actors, these young actors, that at their core they're playing these really good kids, and they're written well and they're acted well from the way that it's handled. So also in episode 3, one of the other things that's going on is that well, I guess we kind of skipped over or glossed it, but I did like how Jordan kind of like, Jordan and Jonathan were kind of like, okay, you trust his dad, we're going to go to school. Cool. He let Jordan go to school, but he listened in. Like, he used a super hearing and listened in. And to be fair, I ain't going to lie, man. As a dad, if I had a super hearing and I'm sitting there listening to this, I'm like, man, this is about to go left real quick. Because I have a 2-year-old. So I'm like, I know, like, when my 2-year-old sitting there about to jump, I'm like, I'm hoping that he don't do it, but I'm already instinctively ready to catch him as soon as he does it. You know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like with this situation, like,
look at you being Clark, just making.
No, I mean, yeah, he definitely made it worse. But to be fair, like, he didn't know it was a 50-50, bro. It was a 50-50.
See, that's the difference of having a 2-year-old and having the boy who has grown up and now is damn near an adult. Do you know how many times I just sat and watched and said, you know what? I need to see what's going to happen here. How far are you willing to take this? And me just sitting back watching it and like, okay, you were willing to take it that far. It hurt? Like, yeah. Hopefully you learn never to do that again. And that's what the boys here really want from Clark, is that, hey, you don't need to always be here. Like, we have to learn how to do this on our own. And what made it worse for them is the realization that you've been doing this our entire lives.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine being a teenager and then one day you happen to realize that you actually never had privacy because your parent could always hear everything you were doing? That is terrifying. And I love the way they played it, like it was the ultimate invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
And then his conversation he had with Lois, when she said, do you remember when I first found out that you did that?
Yep.
And he said, yeah, you were mad. And she said, we almost didn't make it.
Yeah.
Like, that's an important boundary to set.
Yeah, I think that was also really cool because, you find out that he's been giving her flowers ever since. He hadn't stopped and I was like, that's a dope touch. It's a really interesting, sweet thing. But I mean, yeah, they're justified in feeling that way. It's just the problem is he has powers that could kill someone. It's not like, oh, okay, like he maybe has like a knife or maybe, it's karate or something like that. He can break somebody. Like, no, he can kill these kids. So it's kind of like, yeah, there's levels of trust there, but he has no home training on being or doing this. And I blame Clark for that because he needs to know what he's capable of doing. Like, a part of this to me is, I mean, I'm glad that Jordan has this outlet because he needed it. And we see that play off in the 4th episode in the conversation he has with Sarah. But I am glad that Clark decided to let him have it. And then he played up on, they didn't renege. I thought they were going to kind of be like, oh, okay, Clark's going to be like this more abrasive. That, like, no, he's still the bumbling water boy. And that was a callback to the Christopher Reeves arc that I really liked. But the other side about this episode, though, is Lois. She's still trying to humper down on Morgan Edge. Yes. And she is relentless in it. And she gets her car burnt down and she still keeps on ticking until she gets cornered in a hotel with somebody that was very powerful. And it did not end well for anybody. What was your takeaway on that fight? Because it was actually really...
Well, even before the fight, it was the Lois being Lois for me. Loising. That's the way I want to put it. It was Loising. meaning that she gonna find a way to get in trouble. She gonna find a way to put herself into a situation that needs Superman. And it was a nice setup to have the woman come about Morgan Edge and bring up the town that Lois has been repeatedly mentioning as a horrible thing that Morgan Edge did to that town. So then when we get this super powered individual and we finally get to see Superman be Superman in a very violent, destructive way, and the scenes were shot. Man, I don't know. Where has this been, CW? Because again, you didn't get a bigger budget. It's not like HBO Max or Warner Media came in and gave you a bigger budget. I don't know what you're doing here, but that fight scene with Superman looked amazing. Amazing.
It really actually did.
Even from the point of the guy throwing Superman down, and you see Superman levitate up before like hitting him with one of the hardest blows humanly possible from Superman. It was great.
Yeah, it was a classic Superman moment because he used his speed, he used his ice breath, like he used everything, and it still wasn't enough because I was kind of like, what are you gonna do here? You know, like he knocked him out of there, but where's this dude getting powers from, and why is this happening? But again, from the execution standpoint, the camera movement, I mean, it's not like the greatest VFX, but for a TV show, this is really good, bro. Like I was really pleasantly surprised by the action scene, and it came out of nowhere. It was perfectly set up. I was kind of like, oh, okay, he's just gonna stop it. It's he made it just in time to do his obligation, which is be a dad. In this show, for me, and I'll talk about it in the 4th episode when we talk about that, one of the powers I feel like Clark has, grown on is that he has this burst of instinct to do whatever it takes to protect his family. When his family comes to that, yes, he's still Superman, he's still doing the things, but whenever his family is in jeopardy, no matter what, it's almost like magnified. It's like whenever we thought about like Lois Lane dropping, he's always there. It's different now because it's not just Lois, it's his kids. And his call to action is almost.
Let me ask a question, because there's something I thought of leading from the 3rd to the 4th episode. Is it because when his family's in danger, he stops holding back? Because Superman naturally holds back in everything he does. Yeah. It's a characteristic of Superman is that he holds back. But whenever his family's in danger, I'm taking it at this point, the holding back no longer exists. It's no longer me and I think it's highlighted even more in the 4th episode for what happens.
It definitely is.
And it's a sign that he's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm trying my best not to unleash everything I can do. But the moment they're in danger, that thought of me not unleashing everything goes away. Yeah. And I think it could set up a very dangerous situation for him if they get in danger and he doesn't hold back, and the possible casualties that can happen from it, which is something I'm looking forward to possibly seeing, like him having to deal with just how powerful he is, which is weird to say that about Superman.
Yeah, I definitely think that he's always holding back. You're right. Mm-hmm. Now, I think that the reason why he does that, because he wants to minimize any kind of damage, loss of life, everything possible. What'll be really hard and tragic, honestly, and I don't know if the show has the balls to do it, but if there's a situation that his kids their lives are on the line, and somebody else, like, I don't want to say it, because
if he has to pick between someone else living or killing someone to save his kids,
that's what I'm trying to say.
What is going to be his option?
And I don't know if they would have the balls to put Superman in a situation like that.
I can't, because of CW. In the past, we would say they don't have the balls to do that. But if anybody saw Stargirl this past season,
oh man,
they did things on that show that you would have never imagined that they would go and do. So I think I think it's a chance that we may see that conflict come to fruition later on of what happens when you have to make a decision between saving your kids and saving someone else.
It's true.
Or stopping his son from killing someone or losing control and saving someone else. Where do you think where is his loyalties going to lie?
Look. And this goes in. We might as well just start. So final thoughts on episode 3. You really enjoyed it. I loved it as well. But let's go ahead and get into episode 4.
Episode 4, Haywire.
Because now in this episode, you have Mr. Sam. Sam Lane, the general, is in this episode. He kind of makes his appearance for Jonathan and Jordan's game. And he quickly uncovers, what y'all feeding this little boy Jordan? Because he ain't supposed to be doing this as small as he is. And he confronts them, and he decides to stay there. He kind of, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, man. The conversation that they have.
I think we're skipping a part. We're skipping a highly important part in episode. Was it at episode 3 that Sam was given a 7734? Or was that episode 2? I want to say it's episode 3.
No, it was episode 2.
But it's when. So right now, then we're picking up from Sam at the end of episode 2 in episode 4.
Yeah.
So then we kind of understand even more why he's questioning them about why didn't you tell me that Jordan possibly has powers? This is after him meeting Black Luthor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, that's the correlation. Is episode 4 is Sam's first introduction back after episode 2 about him being told the evilness of Clark.
Yeah, and what he's capable of.
Yeah.
Because even at the end, one other thing we left off on in episode 3, the guy that was fighting Clark, he gets quickly killed by the person that is, in the company of Morgan Edge. Now,
who helped fire Lois when she said Morgan Edge will destroy you.
And I believe she was using laser vision. That's how she killed him?
Yep, she used her laser vision to kill him.
So my immediate thought she was Kryptonian, but I have no idea. To be honest with you, but it was interesting because she does come back in this episode. But either way, the thing that I can say about the general on this one is the family so real, because I've dare I say I've lived in it to a degree, because I understand where it's like you got the grandparents that have this certain perspective on way this should go, and then you got the parents that have this, okay, I know what my kids need, I know what path this needs to be, and when you interject something, an idea, and how that just kind of spreads and adds a whole bunch of dissension, because Sam basically told the kids, like, yeah, you know what, your dad is way more important to the world than to y'all. He didn't say that, but he indirectly said
that. Yeah, that's what he said.
And he was like, y'all got to go and do what y'all supposed to do and take care of yourselves and think about the world, basically. And so him implanting that idea, and even at the same as that time, kind of talking with Clark, and it's just kind of like, yeah, you got this obligation, you're supposed to be doing this. I need you here. Like, he was already stringing Clark along to do something else already, but then he interjected himself into Lois's family, and it plays on the fact that Lois was like, "You weren't even a good dad to me. You making these decisions, yes, for the world, cool, but look what it did to our relationship that's so estranged. Mm-hmm. Look what it made me be. Look what it made me continuously go into the line of danger, just like you." You know what I'm saying? And I was like, from a generational standpoint, I really appreciated the conversations that were happening in this episode more than anything, because I was like, this is real, bro. Like, this is some generational stuff that Clark and Lois know that there's a lot of destruction. There's a lot of failure. There's a lot of like downpouring, but they're trying their best to mitigate it. And I think the moment where they were at the end, third act, when Clark was trying to have like the dinner with her or whatever, and he finally got there, and then, the general called up like respectively, but he still broke them up, and Clark had to leave. I was like, man, that's their life forever. That's always how it's gonna be. And I'm just like, that's sad, bro.
That's sad. That's been the point of the show.
That's so sad.
he can never really be there and be Superman.
It's sad, bro.
Like that's his biggest issue, is that he can never really be there and be Superman. So he has to decide which one is he going to be. But
at any given time, too.
Yeah. And then in this episode, it plays it up, but I love the way it played it against Lana's marriage.
Yeah.
And the correlation that, while there are two separate situations, there's two situations where the husband is pulling away from the wife for what they deem the greater purpose, and how that wife has to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel for the whole Lana situation, because I be daggone, bro. I don't care who comes into town saving whatever. I was looking, and I love that Lana addressed it. Morgan Edge decides to go and kind of pull, I forget what her husband's name is, him to the side, like, is that your wife? Oh yeah, just looking at her, not hearing her talk. Just like, yeah, we need to kind of pull her in and, give her this, and then have a full conversation, not with both of them, but with her directly. I was like, bro, like, I wanted to say, like, you just throwing your wife out to somebody else, bro. And I mean, there's another word for it, but I was pissed, bro. And like, Lana was fully justified in like asking and questioning. And I feel like the only reason why everything kind of smoothed over is because she just drunk her sorrows away and just kind of just like, well, whatever. And that's sad, bro.
I think it was the conversation with her and Lois. When Lois asked her, like, well, where are you at? And she said, 16 years of marriage, we have our ups, we have our downs. I think it's an understanding that, you know what? At times, bad things happen. You can deal with it, you address it, and then you move on. And then she's telling Lois to do the exact same thing, because, again, they're both going through the same thing. They're both dealing with husbands who actually think what they're doing is for the best. You get Lana's husband who really thinks like, man, we need to do whatever we can to save Smallville. And Superman, basically, I need to do whatever I need to do to save the world.
Yeah.
But the whole time they're neglecting the person that should be their rock.
It's hard though, because there's a finite difference between Clark and that guy. Because there was a conversation that Lois had with Clark where, Clark was supposed to be there. And of course, he was trying to track down Kilgrave. And Sam put him into that situation. He put himself into the situation because he wasn't there at the time, because he was helping out Jonathan in that conversation or whatever. We'll get to that in a second. But it was kind of like, after he came back, he was trying to apologize. And I was like, bro, you making it worse. Just stop apologizing. Let her know, like, I was wrong. I apologize. But it was kind of like there was no other way around it. Like, it's literally a part of his job. And so it was kind of like.
Now think about it. Think about it, Sam.
No, I know. Look, just hear me. I'm going to keep going. But what I'm saying is that there was no right or wrong answer to it, because even Lois said, I feel bad putting you in a position that I knew you were going to fail at anyway. And it was kind of like, what was he supposed to do? Was he supposed to be there on time?
See, there you go. And that's the crux of the issue.
But he was conflicted about it. Lana's husband or whatever, he didn't give a flip.
You got to pay attention to what he said to her. When she got mad and said, I was uncomfortable and you didn't care to ask if I was uncomfortable. And he said, you were having a conversation with your boss. He said, if I would have stepped up and said something to your boss, then you still would be mad at me. He said, so I don't know which one to do. And that's a real problem there of saying, and both of them are in the same situation. We're both in a situation where either way I do this, it's not going to be good. And that's why I really felt that conversation with Lana and her husband from him saying, like, in all honesty, that's your boss. So if I step in and say something to him because I think you're uncomfortable, then what? Then you're going to get mad at me. And you notice she didn't disagree with him about getting mad about it. No, she didn't disagree.
She didn't.
But that tells me that she knows she would have gotten mad, but she still wanted him to do something. And it's the same thing with Lois. Is her saying, you know, I understand you do all of this, but I needed you.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's the same. It's lit, and that's why I like it. Is because again, they play off of two completely different situations, but it puts the relationships in the same problem.
It
Both of them,
does.
both of the husbands did what they thought was best.
Yeah. Yeah. To be fair.
To progress everything. He's thinking, hey, he's not thinking Morgan Edge is hitting on his wife. He's thinking he's trying to give her a promotion. Because if you listen to everything he said, we looked you up. You should be doing more than this. Why did you come back to Smallville? Like, that's him questioning it. And he said, well, there's better positions for you in this company.
Yeah.
So even if I'm a husband, I'm hearing that, I'm thinking you're talking to her and you're trying to put her in a better place. Yes, she may seem a slight bit uncomfortable, but the last thing I want to do is then get up and be like, blank, if you don't get away from my wife, then all of a sudden, like, I've blown it and she's gonna be.
But all he had to do is talk to her after the fact. Yo, was it just me or did that feel uncomfortable? Like, that's all he had to do. He didn't do that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Clark went to Lois and apologized. He didn't say shit.
You notice the difference is? Clark should have done what he did, and he should have did what Clark did.
True.
Clark didn't need to bring up anything.
He literally made
everything worse by bringing it up.
He did. He did. To be fair,
that's a piece of really good writing, that you have those two couples and you play them that way against each other, and it's a way to bring Lana and Lois closer together.
Yeah.
Because in the end, these are two women who are kind of defined by their career and their children.
Yeah. Another thing that I had talked about, I think it was around episode 2, when we were talking about the possibility of what could also alter, Clark mentally. And I was like, one of the things that they played up in the old Smallville series is these different variations of kryptonite. Because when Clark's ship landed, all these different versions of radioactive kryptonite landed in the town. And matter of fact, in Smallville, and it plays up into this episode, is that people that were around the crash site developed powers based on contact from the kryptonite that fell. And so in the very first part of this episode, I swear I thought I saw red kryptonite. That Morgan Edge was he was looking on trying to track it down, and you had this Jeep in his convoy, and it was one thing that was landed.
Episode. Yeah.
And I was like, I swear this looks like red kryptonite. And then the end of the episode ends with you're seeing like this hole that she kind of is like, I saw yellowish kryptonite, I saw green kryptonite, and I thought I might have saw blue kryptonite. But all those different versions of kryptonite affect Superman very differently. And so I feel like that's what all of this is about. Now,
but keep in mind, it happened before in the episode already.
What do you mean? Elaborate.
So, part of this episode also deals with Jordan and Jonathan and a teammate. A teammate that's like losing a little bit.
Yep.
And Jordan thinking that his heat vision, he hit the kid with his heat vision, and it's causing him to lose his mind and lose control and gain powers. Which we're gonna talk about that too, because I thought that was that's one of the funniest jokes in the world to me that they made after we found out about the kid. But after the kid is subdued by Clark, and another thing we're going to talk about a little bit later, if you notice, he said, well, we traced it. It was a yellow substance that gave him powers.
Yep.
And your heat vision just activated it.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be him blowing up in the mines? Because that's where the party was at. Him blowing up kryptonite there, and it causing the kid to get powers.
Yep. That's exactly what it was. Because that goes again. There's moments in this show, bro. Like the Smallville fan in me, like this had some very Smallville-esque moments, because it wasn't like in Smallville, like you just had this random villains. Like normally it was just people that were subjugated to these effects from the town. The town had kryptonite buried in it. People were using it for different reasons, but most of the times it was an accident that happened, and it changed these people. And this time around, you know, Jonathan was monitoring, I forget the guy's name, very carefully, and trying to figure out what's going on with him. And then eventually at the party, he had an altercation. He just couldn't control it at all.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you, Jordan stepped in, and per Sam, his grandfather, and he felt like he could stop him. And he kind of held him for a second, but then then he got shook loose. That's a good way to put it.
He got thrown loose. Thrown completely off of that kid. But again, that's going to bring up a more interesting question that we're going to have topics about. Because if that kryptonite gave that kid that power, what effect do you think it will have on Jordan?
It's true.
Because Jordan already has powers.
That's a great question.
Will that kryptonite heighten his powers?
Well, so in Smallville, a lot of the people that had kryptonite powers, they had a very negative effect on Superman. A lot of the time, either one, it incapacitated him, or like he had a very hard trouble trying to interact with the person. So it could have been that the reason why he got thrown away is because it was a kryptonite induced person. And I mean, I don't know if, man, you know what actually makes more sense. So maybe the guy that had the super strength,
yes, he got
it from kryptonite. And that's probably the same thing from the girl. But I don't know. See, it's weird though. Why would Morgan Edge be doing this? Wouldn't he be doing this for somebody like Lex or doing this for somebody else? It doesn't make sense.
Why wouldn't he do it for himself?
For what reason though? Like, I don't.
To kill Superman. Like, I mean, do you really, at this point, do you really need a reason to kill Superman?
I mean, yeah. At this point, yeah.
Like, keep in mind, this is not like young Superman. This is not new Superman that I know. This is 20 to 30 year running around saving the world Superman.
Sure.
So if you're somebody who wanted to create superhuman beings, you know, it would behoove you to use what you think would do it, which would be kryptonite. And yet still, we still didn't talk about the Kilgrave guy.
Yeah. So that scene. So Kilgrave, I actually don't know enough about Kilgrave. I remember the character. I think I might have seen him once in the animated series.
Yes.
But it seems as though he's very smart, and he is like he played them like a fiddle the way he got out of there. He just sit there and spit some gum. I was like, yo, that's a plastic explosive or something crazy. But as soon as he got out, like he immediately kind of just threw something up in the air, and he knew that Superman was gonna go and get attracted to it. And so Superman the whole entire time was trying to find this man, find him. And eventually he kind of like cornered somebody who's like, I just need to get you here. And he had these ultrasonics through a focused lens, I guess on a gun or something like that. And it was messing Superman up. Superman couldn't do nothing. Matter of fact, he was like, his ears were burning, I think, right?
Yes.
Like it was so loud that his ears were actually burning.
Which was a dope effect to put into it, to show that his ears are actually burning and he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But not only that, it brought another interesting question though. Something that Sam brings up early in an episode. You know, Superman leaves Metropolis and people notice.
Yep.
You're not flying around here anymore. People noticed that. And that they didn't think they had to move their supervillains to a different facility because the one in Metropolis is no longer any good because Superman isn't there.
Yep.
And then you get Kilgrave, who said, I've been monitoring your flight patterns and I noticed you weren't here anymore. So I knew they would move me and this would be the perfect time to escape.
Facts. So this is the thing though about this. So Superman's basically kind of cornered down. Like he can barely see Kilgrave. He could barely move. Like Kilgrave was just playing with him almost. It looked like he was. And in some kind of a way, at the same time when Jordan and Jonathan were in trouble and Jonathan was like, help dad, his whole instincts just kicked in. He looked up, and he listened in with his ears actually still burning, and still heard his sons.
Well, it's the device. That's one thing we haven't talked about yet either, because they all use it, which is, I don't remember any Superman thing where they bring up that they create a device that amplifies their voice to him, because that's something dope that I would have never thought that they would have bring up. Because he said it's the EMT. He said, why didn't you use EMT? So I've seen Lois use it, I've seen Sam use it, and now we know the boys have one, which the device is set up that the moment they hit it, it zeroes in. Yeah, it immediately picks up Superman.
Yeah. And it's crazy to me because he was like, oh yeah, it's time for me to stop holding back. Yes. I was like,
you get the Superman clap, which is one of the most awesome things humanly possible. Because it was just like him saying, yep, I'm done playing games with you. But it's what happens after the clap that to me is the most interesting. When he said he claps, melts the gun down, then calls into Sam and says, Kilgrave is down. Send paramedics.
Yeah, because civilians.
He didn't use the word civilian. What is when people collateral? I don't think it's collateral. I don't think that's the word he used. But he was using the word to let them know there's normal people down too.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw it. We saw it.
Basically, to take down him, I had to take down others. Come save them. Like that.
Yeah.
Again, that's the conflict that to me is the most important thing here. For his children, he not only went what he knew was more than he should to stop Kilgrave, it affected other people when he did it.
Yeah, like when that sound off went, like we saw people just flying, and I was like, Kilgrave only had like maybe three or four grooms on him. Like I was like, I don't know who's on the ground right now, but those are his grooms. And Superman in mid-flight was like, yeah, you need to go and get these people there. It might be people who might be hurt on the ground. Yeah, bring an ambulance. And it's just it's dangerous. It's dangerous because when they really are in a life or death situation, or if they're compromised for real, what will he not do? What will he not do?
The ultimate conflict of being Superman.
Because
what would you not do to save your kid? I mean, if you ask any parent that question, the answer is nothing.
Yeah,
but the answer can't be nothing for Superman.
Can't it?
Why? No, it cannot. Because nothing leads to a place that Superman can never go.
But he might.
I'm not disagreeing. He might do it, but it's a place that he can't go because and if Superman goes to a place where he shouldn't, which kind of I believe could be foreshadowed in the evil Superman that we see at the end of episode 2. We don't know what gets him there, but if he gets there because he thinks it's a threat to his family and he's willing to take out any threat, because once you do, I think Batman says it best. The reason I don't kill people is because if I do it once, it's going to become easier each time I have to do it.
Yeah.
What makes Superman any different?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's even deeper than that. Like if Batman does it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he's a threat, but if Superman does it, it's a world-ending situation. We got an invincible situation going on.
Yes.
And nobody needs an invincible situation.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah. No, I loved it. I love that scene. Episode I'm trying to think. Between episode 3 and 4, which one do you like more?
Episode 3.
Yeah, same.
Episode 3 is a better episode, but episode 4 is still good. Like they have not missed so far with these Superman episodes.
I'm surprised, bro.
Like, and everything is bringing you different pieces of what to expect, and especially since I believe episode 4 is when they go on hiatus. So for people that don't know out there, it's either episode 4 or maybe 5. After that, they're going to go on
That's
8 to 10 week hiatus.
something like that. They always have these mid-season finale kind of thing.
It's going to be crazy long that they're going to go on. But the reason they're going on it crazy long is because the last episodes of Supergirl will be plugged into this spot.
I hope, I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound disrespectful, but I hope they don't cross her over.
No. I don't think they're going to cross her over. I think that, well, eventually, maybe.
I hope they don't.
Eventually, if they keep her under contract as Supergirl, but she gave her goodbyes really as Supergirl, so there's no telling. But the point that they're plugging it in to Superman's spot after it goes on this big hiatus, so maybe we got one more episode left before we get to not having another Superman episode until May. Like, that's a long time, but at least we'll get it through June because it's 17 episodes of Superman.
True. So, okay, I'm going to ask you this question. I know you already know the answer. Do you think that it's good enough to be in the same exact spot as Superman?
Of course not. Come on.
So why would they do that?
Get ourselves here. You know why? Because Supergirl has a built audience already. In all honesty, it has an audience, so it doesn't have to be as good as Superman, and it has a connection more with Flash. So it kind of makes sense to put it into this time slot because it can't lead its own night anymore. Like, it's not that show anymore. So I mean, if it's okay if you're gonna like let it go out in style. Sam, don't hate on it. Let it go out in style. Okay, you haven't seen Supergirl in 2 seasons. We don't even know what the hell's going on with Supergirl here. Maybe the show is amazing now. I just don't care. I don't want to go back and watch it.
So I did personally. I went back and rewatched Arrow because I what was it after season, was it 4? I kind of gave up, and then I came back for season 6 and went and rewatched back, and then that joint it clapped. So I mean, to be fair, it's possible, but
I mean, who would have thought after Flash season 3 that anybody would want to go back? That season was horrible. But they rebounded. Now I don't know where Flash is. I don't keep track anymore.
It's not bad.
See what I mean?
It's not bad.
You know what? For all the bad word of mouth people would love to give to CW shows, they may give you a bad season, but they tend to rebound from their bad season.
They try.
I just haven't. Again, I haven't seen Supergirl since the transgendered hero came in, and my guy from Manchester. I think I'm saying that right. Manchester Black came in like that. In all honesty, the introduction to Manchester Black was the last episode I saw Supergirl.
Wow.
So it's been a while. Okay. So maybe while Superman is on hiatus, I'll check out Supergirl. And maybe it will shock the heck out of me.
I think I just checked out a Supergirl because of the way they handled Jimmy Olsen, bro. Like they positioned Jimmy Olsen to be the love interest, and they said, "Yeah, nah, we ain't have none of that." But I mean, for years they did the same thing with Iris, and eventually just kind of succumbed to that. But anyway,
they made him a superhero, though. I had no issue with that. They made him a hero.
Yeah, but they did that just to. Never mind. We're not gonna get into Supergirl because I don't have enough care in the world to go into Supergirl. Anyway, what do you rate episode 3 and episode 4?
Episode 3, I give a 9 out of 10. Episode 4, 8 out of 10. It's a tad bit of a step down, and the only reason it's a tad bit of a step down is really because we don't, to me, get enough of Morgan Edge and his motives to really make me overly care why he has these superpowered beings with him.
I don't know, man. I agree. I think that it ain't even, I don't know. I don't like the accent, but it's kind of like he comes across like this gimmicky villain that I don't really care about. He's kind of like just there for motive state. I'm assuming it has to be something bigger than just that.
You got to get a bigger motive in.
But right now, as it stands, I'm kind of like looking at him like, Okay, Morgan. Whatever, bro.
Yeah,
But
you're a British dude with a evil British guy. We've seen lots of them before.
so weird. Why would they give him a British? Anyway,
But the one that Lois said it, what did Lois say? Because I found that interesting too. When Lois said, just drop the fake accent. Like, she's basically saying, you're not really British. Drop the fake accent. But before we go, I got to say my funny moment of episode 4, when they're all sitting at the table and Sam tells them, well, you know, the kid is at DOD and he's under watch. And he said, can we go see him? He said, no, you can't go see him. He said, well, what's going to happen to him? And Lois says, well, they're going to have to send him to a special school with kids who have powers. And Jonathan said, wait a minute. There's a school full of kids that have powers? Like, immediately I thought of the X-Men. I love that moment. And I'm pretty sure that's what they set it up for you to automatically think the X-Men. The moment he said there's a school of kids with nothing but powers, like
so I liked it, but this is the thing, and this is a deep cut to Smallville, the show as well. There was a school that the Luthers and some other group had where they were taking kids that have powers and locking them up and trying to hone them into weapons and never returning them back to their actual parents.
Isn't that the thing from Young Justice?
I think so. I think so. So I don't know.
Is it Katniss?
Yes.
There you go.
But I don't know how vicious Sam is gonna be. But I tell you, the actor that they got for it, I mean, they could make him ruthless by the end of this series. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know what angle they're gonna have. But I feel like there's more to that.
Yes.
There's more to that. And I don't know how much Lois actually knows or how much she's.
But she's the one that told the kids it was a school to send kids with powers to.
And that's weird, bro. Because Jonathan looked at his brother, was like, okay.
Like, Nick, shouldn't you be at that school?
You lucky, bro. Because I mean, I can get my life back if you out of here, but nah. Anyway, well, we're gonna go, you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed our review. We'll talk to you later on. Peace, everybody.